What's up everyone, welcome back to a new video on the Alien Harbor channel. Today we'll be going over the market again, per usual. I wanted to point out tomorrow or later today I will be looking at the sound settings for the voice changer. I will be changing a little bit. I might make it a little bit deeper and a little less distorted, so it's a bit easier to listen to. But I did not have the time today, so I will be going over that. Yes, tomorrow or later today to change those settings. I wanted to point that out real quick. But with that having said, let's get into it. We are currently looking at the S&P. We know that we are still in price discovery mode, so you already see that we are getting nice momentum because people love to buy all-time highs in stocks. It's just a tendency in terms of the mind, I guess. If it starts to break that all-time high, people are really bullish again. But currently we are a little bit of a rotational market right here. We also had a little bit of a consolidation right here. So we have a couple levels to hold and a couple levels to break logically. We can hold this right here, which is your prior highs and your prior lows right there. And if we don't hold this, we would want to hold this. If we really break below this, we should get back somewhere inside of this consolidation, in my opinion. So we better hope it not breaks this, because this will drag crypto with it down a little bit. So looking at this, yeah, it's quite clear. We just want to be holding these levels, otherwise it should get into this box. So when we look at the Nasdaq, the NDQ, it's trading into that gap that it made yesterday. Well, not yesterday, it's like 5 days ago, so Friday. But yeah, we really want to see it hold this gap, and then we can see some further continuation. The Dow Jones actually looks quite decent as well. We had that previous consolidation period here, which we currently are going back into that range high. So if we hold above this range high, it looks quite well. And I will define this box a little bit better, because I don't think it's a static line though. It should be this. So if we find acceptance below this, expect some further downside. If we hold this, expect some further upside. So now that we have the boring stock things along the way, let's get into the BTC chart. What can we see when we look at this from a daily perspective? We are seeing a little bit of a candle that's we currently have 2 candles closing inside of this previous candle, so I think these 2 levels will be quite important. And I will map out the range in a little bit on a different chart, where we currently are still inside of this range, obviously, but I will point out those clear levels in a bit. But let's get back into it. So knowing that we had a previous couple days that have closed decently bullish, but that yesterday's close was a little bit decent. If we manage to hold this, we should see further upside, right? So we want to see that range, that candle low being held. And if we don't, we should see some further downside. But I do think we hold this level right here for now, at least. So what is that current level I'm looking at for the extension? It's right here. So it's that range high, which also came from this point. If we look at that 4 hour again, previous low, previous high, previous high, previous highs, yet again, a previous high. So when we hold around here and we regain this critical level, then we should start trending up again. And like I stated, this was that 1 day and 4 hour level. Where we had 1 candle close above it, and later we found acceptance below it again. So when we look at this on a 30-minute, it's quite clear. This is why I really like that 30-minute chart. You see a compression being formed, you see a trend line being broken, it goes down instead. So we had a couple setups yesterday we were looking at, and it was, yeah, see, I've removed them from the chart already. Okay, we had a setup where I stated we want to see a reclaim of this, where we break above this, otherwise this should be a local top. And it ended up becoming one. What did I draw? From the top of my head, it was something like this. Say that if we manage to hold this low, we should trade up. I had a second option, which from how I just drew this previous one, you should know this trade has been stopped out because here it did not hit my TP. I wanted it to extend right above this, and so I did not hit this one. But what really happened, I got stopped out at break even right around here. And what was the next option? The next option was you had range over the weekend, right? So we had this range, which it logically has a value area low and a value area high. So I stated that if we don't hold this, I don't see what is holding us back from retrieving back to this value area high. And then we want to see some shit like this being formed. So that first setup has been stopped out at break even, right here. That second has been perfectly hit. And when we look at this on a volume perspective, this is why I keep saying volume is really fucking important, guys. Some people don't seem to understand it. Because when we look at this, what do you see? If I go a little bit more like this, you see here you had high volume. So this is right here. You lose that high volume level and you go through those low volume nodes and you fix this level, which correlates with your previous highs. So I got stopped out here, got a way better entry here, made it all back, right? So this is why I say every trade needs an invalidation and needs a plan. And this is why you also look at both ways. Because if we were only fixated on this trade of us holding here and going up, then there is a high likely chance that we wouldn't have got back in here, right? So this is why I always say we plan both sides. That if we start going up from here, okay, we have a plan. But if we lose this, how do we react to it? Will we be shorting it or will we be waiting it out to play it back up eventually, right? So this is why I always map out 2 scenarios to 3 scenarios, because logically from a level, what can you do? You can reject, you can deviate, or you can break, right? So this is why we always map out those scenarios and then we play the scenario that is given. And if first this one is given and then it gets invalidated, then you have that next scenario, right? But if you don't plan them, you won't be quick enough to react to what price will do there. So quickly wanted to point that out. What did I share earlier today on Twitter? I stated right around here, I am pressing that green buy button, right? So that was on the 39th minute and right around here on the 51st minute. So these 2 are my current entries right here. A little bit of a shit entry, did not snipe the bottom. I really don't care in this case. Because what do I want to see? I want to see it extend above this. So currently we are not seeing that. So what is still a scenario that we would stay inside of the trade if given. If price goes below this, reclaims it and holds, right? But if it starts to do something like this, we will be getting out of that trade, seeing it unable to get back above that low. Because we want both of these to be explosive, right? Where the sweep down is explosive and that reclaim is explosive. And then it is likely to hold. But if we see something like this, now this is not likely to hold, guys. This is more likely to roll back down. So I want to point that out real quick with that trade that I have shared earlier. So this currently is my trade, right around here should be my average entry. So keep that in mind. This setup can also be invalidated. I really don't care. This is how we use risk management. Later today, I will be playing a little bit with those voice settings, like I stated, and I might even incorporate something like this, where we have that market monkey, But for now, I won't really touch on this, where we have a lot more opportunities and it is a little bit faster. You already see a 5-second chart. I won't really be going over this right now, but I will eventually start using this platform for the daily updates, where you already should see that a lot of things have been set up for me already. Right, so let's get back into the trading view chart and go over the chart that I think a lot of people are interested in, which is ETH. So let's first look at the daily, where we are currently trending below that 0.5 level. And we really want to find acceptance above this for us to see alt go a little bit up. Because currently they are just slacking behind, and Bitcoin is still stealing the show, which we also can see from that ETH chart right there. So we really want to find acceptance above this, and otherwise we should trend back into that 0 to 5 level again, where we just sandwich in between these 2 points before breaking up. Right? I'm quite sure we will eventually break up. The only question is when. Will we first compress a little bit? Will we first even retest this range low, stopping a lot of people out, knowing that people have their stops right around here? Or even worse, where a lot of people have their stops right here, where we deviate from this and do a second sweep of those lows. So a couple scenarios with ETH, it's a little bit more unclear on the higher time frame than BTC in my opinion, where BTC price action is just a little bit cleaner. So let's get into that 4-hour where we currently see, yeah, this is reminding me of BTC actually. Yeah, that's a bit weird. If I quickly draw it like this, I think people should understand. Where we have this point right here, and just ignore everything else. This, down, back in, here. Down, back in. So there is a little bit of a chance of us trending down a bit further on ETH, actually, in my opinion. Now that I'm looking at it like that, yeah, there is a chance. So it's quite clear. What do we need to hold? We made this low on that New York Open, so logically we want to hold that low that is made on the New York Open, right? And a critical point for us to reclaim is yesterday's close, which from the top of my head is, you can see it right there, 2571, 2571, which should be there. Yeah. So I will make this the color red. The text daily open. So make this black instead. So you can see it a bit easier. So yeah, we want to reclaim this, which is also correlating with that previous resistance, right? So this really is a crucial level to reclaim, in my opinion. And if we reclaim this, we should see a little bit more of an explosion. Oh, that was not supposed to happen. But then we should trend up further, in my opinion, if we manage to reclaim that previous daily open. So eyes on this level and eyes on this lower time frame level, because if we lose this, there is a high chance of us retesting these previous highs again. So pretty similar for BTC. I've already shared the plans here that we should be holding this. If we don't hold this, we want a sweep and a quick reclaim. If we don't get a sweep and a quick reclaim, and instead we fall below and we make a slow movement around these lows, then I will be cutting my long. But until then, I will be staying inside of this trade. But when we look at that ETH chart, we'll quickly go onto a volume perspective. That you see how I've extended the range, where currently this is your value area low, this is your value area high. Let's get back into that 4-hour, where we see we are creating some sort of clear resistance, which really is not that great for the market. And I already pointed out this, that we want to see this level getting held, And sweep and reclaim, of course, is allowed, but what do we need to see then again? We'll keep explaining this until I don't need to. A sweep, a quick reclaim, a hold, and then it's all good. If we see some shit like this on a lower time frame, now this is not that great, right? We don't want to see some shit like this. We want it to be like this, where these two parts are quick. So a sweep is really not that bothering. A sweep without a reclaim, that is really bothering. So keep that in mind. Those quick levels, I will go over them again. That interim level to hold. Otherwise, it is highly likely that we will be trading into this, maybe even take out this week, which I don't think is likely, but that is still a chance. But I think this point should be more logical. That if we manage to lose this, we should logically trade back into this box for ETH, looking weaker. Yeah, quite clear that we really need a reclaim of this level, otherwise it's go downtime, in my opinion. Or BTC, literally the same. And on those higher time frames, yeah, there's really not that much to be bearish about when we just look at it like this. Yeah. Yeah, we really need to break above these highs, otherwise it's logical to go back towards these levels, and the same goes pretty much for BTC, where if we don't retrieve back above these highs, it should be quite logical to retrace back into here. But let's do a bit of range analysis to end it with. I've already mapped this out a bit earlier today, where this is your current range. How can we find this? Here is your low, here is a second low, here is a third low, right? And then this is your point of impulse number 2. Here you have your untapped high, which I can deem to be part of that range currently. And that second point is this level, which has been swept, and later we were unable to reclaim it again. So this is currently your range high, right here, and your range low, with this being your midpoint. And you should already see this box right here, that if we get stopped out on this trade I did on that lower time frame, I really think we should trade into this. It looks a little too clean not to give, actually. So I wanted to point that out at the end real quick. So keep this range in mind, because this is currently that range that we are trading in on a 1-day time frame, right? With this being your midpoint, and by coincidence, like you guys should know, coincidence really isn't coincidence in trading. The midpoint of this range are your previous 2 highs, right? So this is a really crucial level to hold, because if we find acceptance below this and we never reclaim it again, then we really are quite fucked, because then we should see a lot deeper of a retrace, in my opinion, where it would even be logical if we, and then this is the massive bear case, right? I don't think it will play out, but it's a scenario I will have to prepare you guys for, just in case of us getting this scenario. We trade into this, and in the end lose it, and get a liquidation cascade. Right? This really is a super painful scenario, but it is possible, right? Because if we manage to lose these lows, a lot of people will be panic selling. And that panic selling, with the addition of people will be longing this if price comes here, a lot of stops will be built here. And those stops, if they get hit, will become for sellers, giving even more selling pressure. So add a liquidation cascade with panic selling, equals big dip. So if we really lose this level, I think we can chill for a couple months or two before we see some more upsides, and then Q4 will be interesting. But if we manage to hold above this 0.5 level, I don't see why Q3 should be bearish. So keep that in mind. I really wanted to prepare you guys for the scenario just in case it happens. Then you are a little bit better prepared, and you see what we currently look to be getting. So if we roll over from this, right, and we don't reclaim it, I will be getting out of this trade, expecting it to rally further down. So wanted to point it out real quick that currently that invalidation should be right around here. Right, if we now retreat back to this, then I will be getting the fuck out of the trade. But if we don't, like this, we want this to be explosive, guys. I keep repeating it. Here, you see, if I would have had a logical stop right here, I would have been fucked. Now I'm almost already back in profits. So, little point to the people that took this trade. I want you guys to understand how to manage it, right? And it's not for me up to manage it for all of you. Because you are the only one pressing the buy and sell button and looking at that screen. I'm not looking at your screen, right? Looking at my screen, I'm giving you the scenarios, how you play it, how you manage it. It's all up to you. So, I hope you guys like the video. Be prepared for me to screw with the settings of the voice changer tomorrow. So, tomorrow's video might sound a little bit different. I wanted to point that out real quick. So, with that having said, guys, hope you like the video. And like usual, keep trading, guys. Daily and out.